Devarim, Parshat Devarim, and Tisha B'Av. This is a shir adapted from the shiurim of Moran Hagoyin, Reb Chaim Shmulevich, Zecher Tzadik Levrocha. The name of this shir is Devarim, Kamtza, and Bar Kamtza triggered the destruction. A shir from Reb Chaim Shmulevich. Before I say this shir, we mentioned so many times Reb Chaim Shmulevich Zecher Tzadik Levrocha. I wanted to tell everybody about the greatness of Reb Chaim Shmulevich Zecher Tzadik Levrocha that I personally saw. I remember one day I was learning in Yeshiva Chavetz Chaim in Sanhedria Murchevet in Yerushalayim, and one day we heard that Reb Chaim Shmulevich Zecher Tzadik Levrocha is going to be saying a shir that night. So a whole group of people decided to come to be zocher to hear the shir of this Adam Gadol. And we walked in, we were there before Reb Chaim walked in, and I was sitting in a place where, when he walked in, like I was the first one he saw. And he says to me, where are you people from? He sees new faces there. Where are you people from? So I said, we're from Yeshiva Chavetz Chaim from Yeshiva Chavetz Chaim. So he looks at me and he says, wow, if I knew you were coming, I would have prepared harder. Just a little story about the anivus and the greatness of this holy person, Reb Chaim Shmulevich Zecher Tzadik Levrocha. Anyway, this is a shir adapted from his shiurim. It says in the beginning of Devarim that before he was nifta, before Moshe Rabbeinu was nifta, Eila HaDevarim Asher Diber Moshe Al Kol Yisrael, the following are the words that Moshe spoke to all Klal Yisrael. All Klal Yisrael. And he mentioned this instead of saying out the exact sins, that they made an egel and they had meraglim, they were meraglim, they sent out meraglim, all the sins, making the egel hazov, making the golden calf. And he rebuked Klal Yisrael in this manner in order not to embarrass them. That's what Rashi says, not to embarrass them and offend Klal Yisrael. And the question is, Rashi says that the reason that he rebuked Klal Yisrael in this veiled, scaled-down manner was in order not to offend Klal Yisrael, not to hurt them, not to hurt their feelings. And the question is, Gewalt. Rebuking somebody for sin is not really an avera. It's a mitzvah. It's a mitzvah of the Torah. Hoicheach teichiach esamosecha. Why didn't Moshe Rabbeinu confront them directly? It seems that although rebuking somebody is indeed a mitzvah of the Torah, we should never forget that Bein Odom L'Chaveroi is also a mitzvah of the Torah. Is also a mitzvah of the Torah. Embarrassing and offending Klal Yisrael, in this case here, the entire Klal Yisrael was present when he spoke, is a terrible, terrible avera, a transgression of paramount and major importance. That's what it says in Parshat Devarim. What about embarrassing one member of Klal Yisrael? Is that permissible? Because here we see that Moshe Rabbeinu was afraid not to embarrass the entire Klal Yisrael. What about embarrassing one individual and a Russia? Are you allowed to embarrass a Russia? A wicked person? So perhaps we can see from the famous Gemara regarding Tisha B'Av that even one person, even a wicked person, is also a terrible, terrible, terrible avera of Bein Odom L'Chaveroi. Where do we see this from? The Gemara in Gittin tells us regarding Tisha B'Av the Gemara relates a story that an individual making a banquet asked his messenger to invite his dear friend Kamtza to the affair. Kamtza was his dear beloved friend. He asked his messenger to invite him to this banquet. Instead of inviting Kamtza, his dear friend, the host's dear friend, he invited the host's arch enemy, Bar Kamtza. The names were so similar. He invited the host's arch enemy, Bar Kamtza. When the host saw Bar Kamtza sitting there, his arch enemy sitting at his banquet, whom he never invited, he became very angry. The host became very angry and embarrassed. Bar Kamtza physically ejected him from the party. Bar Kamtza, being very angry and embarrassed, took revenge on the entire Klal Yisrael. Klal Yisrael. And he said, since the rabbis were seated at the banquet and did not rebuke the host for the way he treated me, it is evident that what he did was acceptable to them. He went to the authorities and viciously made false claims against the entire Klal Yisrael by saying that they were rebelling against him. This in turn triggered the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash. The Gemara concludes this story by saying, come and see how great the power of shame is. For the Holy One, blessed be He, assisted Bar Kamtza in his plot to take revenge for the shame to which he had been subjected. The Rebbeinu Shalom took the side of Bar Kamtza. He destroyed his own temple. The Rebbeinu Shalom took the side of Bar Kamtza because he was so embarrassed. Bar Kamtza was so embarrassed. And therefore he destroyed his own temple and burned his own sanctuary. We see clearly from here the tremendous waves in heaven that resulted from the shame of one individual, although he was a Rasha. Reb Leib Chasman says he was definitely a Rasha. If Bar Kamtza had something against his host, why did he let it out on the entire Klal Yisrael? He had something against his host. Why are you coming and saying all kind of terrible things against Klal Yisrael? That is riches. And the Rebbeinu Shalom took his side, even though he was a Rasha. The Rebbeinu Shalom did whatever Bar Kamtza wanted to do. Let us focus. Let us obliterate any hate from within us. Let us focus on v'ahavta l'reyacha kamecha, loving each and every member of Klal Yisrael. In this merit may we be privileged to witness the speedy rebuilding of the third Beis Hamikdash in our days, v'meheira b'yameinu. Amen v'yamein.